It all started on a cold December evening, when the sound of rain against the window seemed louder than usual. The world outside looked peaceful, but inside Ethan's heart, a quiet storm was growing. He sat on the couch, scrolling through his phone, staring at her messages, the ones he hadn't replied to in 2 days. His chest felt heavy, not because of what was said, but because of what was no longer felt. Love, once loud and alive, had turned into silence. Across town, Ava waited. The dinner was ready. Candles were lit. She had worn the blue dress he once said made her eyes look like the ocean. But as the minutes turned into hours, and her phone stayed still, that ocean began to dry up into a desert of confusion. She whispered to herself, maybe he's busy. Maybe he'll come. But deep down, she knew something was ending. When he finally arrived, there was no smile, no warmth. Just a tired face carrying the weight of unspoken truth. They sat in silence, the ticking clock growing louder with every second. Then he finally said it, softly, almost like he didn't want the words to exist. Ava, I don't think I can do this anymore. She froze. Her fork slipped from her hand. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. The world around her blurred. She wanted to ask why, but she already knew. Love doesn't always end in anger. Sometimes it just quietly fades, leaving behind two people who don't know how to hold on anymore. After he left, Ava sat alone in that same room. The candles had burned down to nothing, the food had gone cold, and her reflection in the window looked like someone she didn't recognize. That night, she cried until her pillow was soaked, asking the same question over and over. Why wasn't I enough? Days turned into weeks, and the emptiness grew louder. She deleted his photos, then restored them. She tried to sleep, but dreams reminded her of what she lost. Everywhere she went, the park, the cafe, the bus stop, memories followed like ghosts that refused to rest. Her friends told her, "You'll be fine," but those words felt hollow. Healing isn't instant. It's slow, messy, and painful. There were days she smiled in public and broke down in private. Nights when silence was louder than screams. But one morning something shifted. She woke up early, made coffee, and stood by the window, not waiting for him, just breathing. For the first time, she noticed the way sunlight touched the curtains, the quiet beauty of an ordinary day. It didn't heal her completely, but it was the first sign of peace, a small step toward herself. She decided to take a walk. No makeup, no destination, just air and space. Each step felt heavy at first, but lighter with time. She realized she had spent months trying to understand why he left, instead of understanding what she needed to stay whole. That night, she opened her journal and wrote a single line. Maybe heartbreak isn't the end. Maybe it's the beginning of meeting myself. Over the next few weeks, Ava began to rebuild. She joined a local art class, started volunteering at an animal shelter, and learned to spend time alone without feeling lonely. At first, it felt strange, like learning to walk again. But each small act of self-love stitched a piece of her back together. She stopped checking his social media. She stopped comparing. She even stopped wondering if he missed her. Because one morning, as she looked at her reflection, she realized she didn't miss him anymore. She missed her old self. And that realization changed everything. The girl who once waited by the window was gone. In her place stood a woman who didn't need to be chosen to feel worthy. A woman who learned that heartbreak doesn't destroy you. It introduces you to your own strength. But healing isn't linear. Some nights she still felt the ache. Some songs still brought tears. Yet even then she reminded herself, pain is not a punishment. It's a teacher. And slowly she started to thank her pain, because without it, she would have never learned how powerful she could be on her own. The weeks turned into months, and the distance between who Ava used to be and who she was becoming grew wider. She had stopped waiting for messages, stopped checking for updates, and slowly stopped living in the past. Her mornings were different now. A cup of coffee, quiet music, and sunlight that filled the room with warmth she once searched for in someone else. Sometimes, she caught herself smiling at nothing in particular, just the soft realization that peace had finally begun to feel natural again. She wasn't fully healed, but the cracks in her heart were no longer wounds. They had turned into windows letting the light in. One Saturday afternoon, she decided to visit the old bookstore near her apartment, the one she used to go to years before she met him. The smell of old Pages and coffee brought back a sense of nostalgia that didn't hurt anymore. She wandered through the aisles, tracing her fingers along the spines of forgotten books. That's when she heard a voice behind her, calm and polite. "You look like you're searching for something special." She turned around. A man stood there holding a book in his hand, a quiet smile on his face. His name was Ethan, though not the same Ethan who once broke her heart. This Ethan was different, older, grounded, and with eyes that looked like they had known both loss and peace. They talked for a while about books, music, and the strange way people come into your life when you least expect them. For the first time in a long time, Ava didn't feel the need to hide her past or pretend to be fine. She just felt real. That night, when she came home, she didn't feel excitement or butterflies. She felt calm, and that calmness surprised her. She wrote in her journal again, "Maybe love isn't supposed to feel like a storm. Maybe it's supposed to feel like coming home." Days passed, and they kept meeting. Coffee, long walks, laughter about small things. But Ava promised herself one thing: she wouldn't lose herself again. She would love, but not at the cost of her own soul. She had learned that lesson through pain, and she wasn't going to forget it. There were moments of hesitation, times when fear whispered, "What if it happens again?" But instead of running away, she faced those thoughts. Healing isn't about avoiding pain, it's about learning to live despite it. Ethan never tried to fix her. There were moments of hesitation, times when fear whispered, "What if it happens again?" But instead of running away, she faced those thoughts. Healing isn't about avoiding pain, it's about learning to live despite it. With him, there was no pretending, no games, only presence. One evening, they sat by the riverside watching the sunset. The sky burned in shades of orange and gold, and the reflection danced across the water. Ava turned to him and said softly, "You know, I used to think heartbreak was the worst thing that could happen to me." He looked at her, curious. "And now?" "Now I think it was the best teacher I ever had. It broke me, yes, but it also showed me how strong I could be. It taught me how to love myself before I tried to love someone else." He smiled, and in that quiet moment, there was no grand declaration, no dramatic ending, just two people sitting beside each other, both carrying pasts, both choosing peace. That night, when Ava returned home, she stood before the mirror again. Her reflection wasn't of someone broken anymore. It was of someone reborn. She whispered to herself, "This is me. Finally me." Her life didn't become perfect overnight. There were still bad days, moments when memories tried to drag her back. But now she knew how to fight back with grace. Instead of drowning in pain, she would breathe through it. Instead of hating her past, she thanked it for shaping her. She learned to enjoy solitude, cooking her favorite meals, going on solo trips, painting by the window. She even laughed at old photos, not with sadness, but with gratitude for how far she had come. Her friends began to notice the change. "You look happier," they said. And she was. Because happiness no longer depended on someone staying. It came from knowing she could stand on her own. One day she found an old note in her drawer. It was from the man who once left her, the one who started her journey of heartbreak. The paper had yellowed with time, but the words were still clear. "I hope you find someone who loves you better than I could." She smiled and folded it gently. "I did," she whispered. "I found myself." That night she sat under the stars, her heart lighter than it had ever been. The world looked the same city, same sky, but she had changed. And that changed everything. Because heartbreak doesn't mean the end of love. It means the end of needing someone else to prove you deserve it. For the first time, Ava wasn't defined by her pain, but by her growth. She realized that true love isn't about finding someone who completes you. It's about finding someone who reminds you that you were whole all along. Months had passed since the day Ava found that old letter, and by now it no longer carried any pain, only peace. Life had found a new rhythm. Her mornings began with sunlight, her evenings with quiet gratitude. She no longer counted the days since her heartbreak. Instead, she counted the things she was thankful for. One of those things was her art. What started as a small hobby to fill lonely hours had turned into something extraordinary. Her paintings, once filled with muted colors, now overflowed with warmth and life. Every brushstroke carried a part of her journey: sorrow, healing, rediscovery, hope. One afternoon, she received a message from a local gallery. "We've seen your work online. Would you be interested in showcasing your art at our next exhibit?" Her hands trembled as she read it. It wasn't just an opportunity, it was validation. Not from the world, but from herself. She had rebuilt her life from pieces that once felt too broken to touch. The night of the exhibit, she stood quietly in a corner, watching people walk around, admiring her art. There was laughter, conversation, and gentle music. But Ava wasn't thinking about recognition. She was thinking about the journey, the tears, the nights of silence, the moments she thought she'd never smile again. Ethan walked in, smiling proudly. "You did it," he said softly. She shook her head with a small smile. "No, we didn't do it." "I did. For the first time in my life, I did something just for me." He nodded, his eyes full of respect. "And that's exactly why it's so beautiful." Ava looked at her favorite piece, a painting of a cracked heart, glowing with golden light. Beneath it, the caption read, "Broken doesn't mean destroyed." That night, she went home feeling something she hadn't felt in years: wholeness. She realized healing wasn't about erasing pain. It was about transforming it. The heartbreak that once shattered her had now become her story's most powerful chapter. Weeks later, Ava was invited to speak at a small community event, a gathering for people who had gone through loss and heartbreak. She hesitated at first. She wasn't a speaker, but something inside her whispered that maybe her story could help someone else. When she took the stage, her hands were trembling. But as she looked at the faces before her, people silently fighting their own battles, she found her strength. She began softly. "I used to believe heartbreak was the end, that when someone leaves, your story ends with them. But I was wrong. Heartbreak isn't an ending. It's an invitation to meet yourself, to rebuild, to rise again." Her voice steadied as she spoke. "I used to cry every night, wondering why I wasn't enough. But now I know I was never supposed to be enough for someone else. I was meant to be complete within myself." The room was silent except for a few quiet sobs. She continued, "Pain doesn't mean you failed. It means you're alive. It means you tried. And sometimes it means life is redirecting you towards something better." When she finished, the audience stood up, not just clapping, but connecting. People came to her afterward, sharing their own stories, their own heartbreaks. And Ava listened, truly listened, just as Ethan once did for her. That night, she walked home under the stars, tears in her eyes, not of sadness, but of gratitude. She realized she had come full circle. The girl who once waited for love now gave love, freely, selflessly, and without fear. As months turned into another year, her art continued to grow. Her story reached people online, thousands of strangers writing to her, saying her words gave them hope, that her story helped them find light in their darkness. Ava had become what she once needed, a reminder that healing is real, that even the deepest heartbreak can bloom into something beautiful. One evening, as she sat by the same window where she once cried, Ethan joined her, 2 cups of tea in hand. They watched the sunset quietly. After a while, he asked, "Do you ever think about the past?" She smiled faintly. "Sometimes, but not with pain anymore, more like gratitude. Because if it hadn't broken me, I wouldn't have learned how to rebuild." He nodded, watching her face glow in the soft light. "You've come a long way." "So have you," she said, her voice gentle. "We all have." The sun dipped below the horizon, leaving streaks of pink and gold across the sky, colors of endings and beginnings. Ava leaned back, breathing deeply. The world felt open again, limitless. She whispered to herself, "I'm proud of the woman I've become," because she had overcome heartbreak, not by forgetting it, but by transforming it. Not by rushing to heal, but by learning to live with grace, patience, and purpose. Somewhere out there, someone was crying the same tears she once cried, feeling the same emptiness she once felt. And maybe one day they would find her story. And when they did, they'd know. Heartbreak doesn't destroy you. It rebuilds you stronger, wiser, softer. It teaches you that love isn't always about holding on. Sometimes love is about letting go and believing that even in your breaking, you're still becoming whole. The camera would fade out on her face, calm, peaceful, illuminated by the glow of the setting sun, as her voice lingers softly. "You will survive this. You will smile again. And one day, you'll thank the pain that once broke you, because it was leading you home."